Natalie, Joshua, and Naomi join me in wishing all of you Shana Tova Mituka, a good, sweet, and healthy year. I feel especially blessed today that my in-laws are here, Judy and Earl and Susie. So glad that they're able to share these days of holiness with us. This past June, I marked my 22nd year in the rabbinate. And for 20 of these years, yes, 20, I have had the privilege and responsibility of speaking with you at this sacred moment. And over these 2 decades, you as well have spoken to me. You have shared with me the many beautiful and poignant ways that you remember your loved ones. I find incredible inspiration in hearing about how your love and your loss has changed you. I'm fascinated by our internal memory storage system. We can remember and recall exacting facts and dialogue. We hit the memory replay button, and the feelings flow out from our hearts into our bodies, and the laughter and the tears are real. And then there are those other memories that no matter how we adjust the antenna, it is a struggle to pick up the signal. And yes, some of those memories we would prefer to not remember. Yizkor, we remember. Earlier today in the prayer book we read, V'tiftach et sefer hazikronot, u'me'alav yikareh v'chotam yad kol adam bo. The book of our days is opened, and what is written there proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being. I've been thinking about these signatures. We reflect on those signatures, the signatures of our loved ones. We think about the indelible ways that their days and their deeds affected us and changed us. So much I was thinking about those signatures that I dug through that box that was hiding someplace in our house, which really has very little storage, and I found my autograph book from the early 1960s. In it, I've got some great autographs from my teachers at school, including my principal, friends, family, and of course, one of my friends, I think he was about 8 years old, wrote beautifully underneath his name, moron. And in the back, for those of you who have ever been at a meeting with me and watched me doodle endlessly, by the way, it's the only way I can concentrate in a meeting, in the back of my autograph book is a big doodle. But one of the signatures in here is a tender, beautiful one from my mother. It says, I love you. We remember these mementos, the moments, the pictures, the values. They all stir feelings. Some of the feelings are clear, like a brand new smart TV with perfect 1080 high-def imprint in our soul. And some of our feelings are more muted and static, like that 12-inch black and white TV with a very big remote control. I remember that remote control. We would sit on the early American rocking love seat in my house. An authoritarian voice would say, hey, why don't we watch a different channel? As if we meant someone other than me was going to have to walk all the way across those carpet squares to change the channel. We had a big selection, 4, 7, and 9, and sometimes 6 and 2. I almost learned French by watching Channel 6 when I was homesick. And late at night, I would stare at the renegade independent Channel 2 and listen to the Star-Spangled Banner play in anticipation of that high-pitched test signal that always worked just fine. The best was watching a baseball game with my dad. The volume on the TV was off because he preferred to listen to the radio broadcast. The reason, he told me, was because the radio broadcasters were superior to the television broadcasters. But I think his reason was a bit more romantic. I know that he felt that a real baseball fan either went to the game or listened to it on the radio, but never listened on the TV. He liked closing his eyes and imagining the days before TV. And now I have a necessary disclaimer. I like baseball. Some of my best friends like baseball. But as I embark on a lot of baseball talk, I want to be real clear about what I'm going to say. It has nothing to do with baseball. My baseball career was very short. I was an adequate softball pitcher, prior to being traded to the big kids with the hardball. I was also an adequate hardball pitcher. I could even hit the ball. All that changed when I experienced my first inside curveball. For those of you who have never experienced an inside curveball, especially your first one, it is a child's first opportunity to test his or her reflexes. You see, the ball is coming at you very fast, and by you I mean at your head. It is abundantly clear that upon impact, that ball will ruin your life. This is when a more mature and experienced baseball player knows just to be patient for a moment, because the curveball will curve away right over the plate, and that ball will either get hit or called a strike. The less mature and inexperienced child, such as this rabbi, instinctively knew that diving on the ground and covering my head with my hands would be considered not only good form, but situationally appropriate. And in one swift moment, in baseball fields around the country, around the land, the ball curves away from the face and pierces the dust floating above the plate and smacks into some other 8-year-old catcher's mitt. And the umpire yells in a loud voice, "Strike 3, you are out." And many of the players on the opposing team add some also encouraging words. That curveball explains why, in the fall of 1965, I became a former baseball player and was drafted in the first round by the Comanches, a brand new team in a brand new league with a brand new sport called soccer. I instantly became a star. Okay, maybe not a star, but I went to all the practices, which meant you got to play in the game. We were in the middle of our inaugural season, when after practice my father asked me to go outside with him and have a catch. It was a phrase he used often. In fact, inscribed in my treasured childhood book of collected autographs, on the next page right behind "I love you, Mother," is my dad's autograph. It says, "You are the greatest catch, Dad." It was a phrase he used often. And I think he liked to talk about playing catch, especially at that moment, because for sure he didn't play soccer. So we went out to the street to play baseball together. It was a few days before the 1965 World Series was about to start. I said, "Throw the ball, Dad," but he was holding onto the ball. He started telling me about the only World Series game that he ever went to. In 1954, he started, "I went to Game 1 of the World Series between the New York Giants and the Cleveland Indians at the Polo Grounds. I was sitting in center field about 10 rows up. It was a beautiful day with a clear blue sky. The score was tied 2-2 in the top of the 8th inning. Starting pitcher Sal Magli walked Larry Doby and gave up a single to Al Rosen, putting runners on first and second. Giants manager Leo DeRocher summoned left-handed pitcher Don Little to replace Magli and pitch to Cleveland's Vic Wirtz, also a left-hander. it was like my father was channeling a baseball announcer. Wirtz worked the count to 2 balls and 1 strike before crushing Little's 4th pitch, 425 feet to deep center. In many stadiums, that would have been a home run and would have given the Indians a 5-2 lead. However, this was the polo grounds, the spacious polo grounds. And my dad said, and I watched, just 10 rows up, as Giants center fielder Willie Mays, who was playing short, close into the second base, made an unbelievable, on the run, over the shoulder, amazing catch on the warning track to make the out. And after he caught the ball, turned around, immediately spun, and threw an incredible throw back towards the infield. My dad continued, being at the World Series and seeing one of the greatest plays in the history of baseball, just a few rows in front of me was unbelievable. That play, my dad said, as he paused, as he soaked in the magic of that moment, it was as if he was there in those stands again. That play that Willie Mays made has, over the years, become known as the catch. It was a great story. I signaled for my dad to throw the ball to me. He held on to it tight. My dad continued, the Davis family has always been involved in baseball. When you're older, I will tell you about your great uncle Arnie Rothstein. He was also interested in baseball. His nickname was the Brain. He, however, my dad looked at me, didn't use his brain, but you will use yours. That's when I knew I was about to get either what we call in my family the lecture or the directive. Like a runner in a pickle, I was caught between the two. Next week, my father continued, your soccer team is scheduled to play a game on Yom Kippur. You will be in temple with your family. I immediately started the protest. If, my dad went on, if Sandy Koufax doesn't pitch on Yom Kippur, Bobby Davis doesn't play soccer on Yom Kippur. Author Jane Levy wrote, by refusing to pitch that day, Koufax became inextricably linked with the American Jewish experience. He was the new patriarch, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Sandy. And so in one short moment, Sandy Koufax, without even throwing a pitch, became a patriarch. And while I thought I was going outside just to have a catch, instead, I became a Jew. This unanticipated moment lingers with me to this day. About a month before Sandy Koufax refused to play in the World Series, another baseball player, Dr. Archibald Moonlight Graham, died. Archie Graham's story was popularized by the novel Shoeless Joe and in the subsequent movie Field of Dreams, which is in great part about the 1919 World Series team that my great uncle Arnie Rothstein, the Brain, had manipulated. In the movie, Graham makes a life-changing decision to pass up a baseball career to be a doctor. He muses about the missed opportunities and lost dreams, and he says, we just don't recognize life's most significant moments while they're happening. Back then I thought, well, there'll be another day. I didn't realize that that was the only day. Our lives are a succession of choices. Some of these choices are remembered and we can draw a line between then and now. But most of our decisions become part of the complex movement and change and choice which we call life. Tracing these connections is difficult at best, and sometimes even remembering them can be more challenging than my daily search for my keys and my phone. But Yizkor is not about remembering or even memory. It's about reflecting. Reflecting not only on the words or the pictures or the autographs or the moments, but rather on the feelings. I never really liked playing baseball, but I would do anything if my dad would call me up one more time and say, "Hey son, let's have a catch." That's why I like having a catch with Joshua. That's why I like looking at my dad's careful inscription in my book of childhood hero autographs. Remember, I said that what I'm going to say about baseball has nothing to do with baseball. For the catch is not just Willie Mays in 1954 or Bob and Lou Davis in 1965. The catch is all those memorable, intimate, private, intense moments when you shared with the ones you loved a uniting, singular moment in time. I have my moments, you have yours. You've told me about some of them. Baking cookies with Grandma, sitting on Mommy's lap, hiding Daddy's cigarettes, walking to school with your best friend, a kiss behind the garage, cooking in the kitchen, swimming in the ice-cold lake without any clothes on, singing in the car, fighting with your sister in the back seat, fighting with your brother in the back seat, crying together when you got the bad news, crying together when you got the good news, holding hands, exchanging silent glances, dancing past midnight. The catch, these moments, plays itself out in our lives all the time. Describing the intensity of these catch moments and the feelings evoked to someone else is of course not the same as having the feelings. Our dearest friends, our loving family, our empathetic clergy, and our helpful psychologists understand, but it is not their story. It's not their catch. To the casual observer, these moments can seem normal and even mundane, but to us, as we reflect, as we see and hear and smell and touch, and most significantly, as we experience, as we feel the embrace and closeness, it is, if you will, how we all continue to have a catch with those we love. These moments are powerful and magical. As Moonlight Graham said, "Well, you know, I never got to bat in the major leagues. I would have liked to have had that chance just once. That's what I wish for. A chance to squint at a sky so blue that it hurts your eyes just to look at it. To feel the tingling in your arm as you connect with the ball, to run the bases, stretch a double into a triple, and flop face first into third, and wrap your arms around the bag. That's my wish. That's my wish. And is there enough magic out there in the moonlight to make this dream come true?" Magic moonlit dreams happen in strange ways. 7 years ago, when I turned 50, I was given a copy of the 1963 Life magazine with Sandy Koufax's face on the cover. That picture triggered a search for a picture of The Catch by Willie Mays. So I did all the things that we could do 7 years ago, web search, eBay, Google, and there are thousands of images of the catch. But I wanted an image where I could get high enough definition to be able to see my father maybe in the stands. So I called the Baseball Hall of Fame, and they said, if you want to see whether we have a high-def print, come on up, which I didn't. And then the magic. A few months ago, I found myself attending a basketball game with Joshua at Miami High and ended up sitting next to Neil Dubrow. Neil and Karen's son David had tragically died just a few months earlier. We shared memories of all sorts, and we waxed nostalgically. Is it time for water yet? About how sports, and specifically how baseball, had impacted us. And one of the stories I shared with him was the story of my dad sitting 10 rows up from the most famous play ever in baseball. A few days later, Neil called me up and wanted to meet me. He brought me a present. It was the picture. A picture that was hanging in his son David's room, right by his door. The picture is of Willie Mays in the Polo Grounds, September 29th, 1954. It's a picture of Willie making the catch. Willie even autographed it. This picture is treasured for so many reasons. I see reflected much more than Willie Mays making the catch. I see my childhood. I see your childhoods. My values, your values. My moments, your moments. My decisions, your decisions. I see the way that all of those are inextricably linked to the ones we love. And if you look carefully, in about row 10, you can see right there my young dad in a plaid shirt, smiling, looking at Willie Mays catching that ball, standing in a sky so blue it just hurts your eyes to look at. But more than that, etched in the reflective memory of this glass, you can catch a glimpse of loving parents and a loving son. Not my parents and me, rather Neil and Karen and David. How many times did they stare at that picture and see their own reflection in the glass? I see the generosity of a grieving father helping someone else's son to reconnect with his father. And in Willie Mays' autograph, I see all of our signatures. V'tiftach et sefer hazikronot uma'alei yikarei v'chotem yad kol adam bo. The book of our days is opened, and what is written proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being. Our deeds, our actions, our relationships, our loves, our losses are our autographs in the book of life. Yizkor is not just about remembering the mementos encased in a frame. Yizkor is seeing the reflection of others' lives in ours and allowing their lives to lovingly affect who we are and who we can become. In this reflection, we grasp a glimpse of and feel the sensitive intersection between loss and love. We remember the myriad ways that we played catch with all those that we love, with our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, our friends, our lovers, our wives, our husbands, our partners, our brothers, our sisters, our sons, our daughters. We remember all who came before us. Let us hold these treasured memories close to us in a way that never denies the sadness and yet always inspires us to see, appreciate, and gratefully share the beautiful and abundant gifts of life. Often we think, well, there'll be other days. This is Yom Kippur. Let us not wait for other days. Rather, let us remember to recognize life's most significant moments while they're happening. So, go play with someone you love. Make magic in the moonlight. Don't talk about it. Don't wait. Just do it. And when you do, you will both honor the memory of your loved ones who came before you, and you will make new memories with those who are with you now. And if any of you are interested in going to the park or out to the street to have a catch, I'd like that.
It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be, and all to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, for your laugh once lifted me, for your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love, to love. Death has touched.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide
L'tor vador nagid godleha netzachim kedushata nagdish l'tor vador nagid godleha l'tor vador nagid godleha netzachim kedushata nagdish v'shivha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed v'shivha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed l'tor vador nagid godleha l'tor vador nagid godleha netzachim kedushata nagdish ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata l'tor vador nagid godleha l'tor vador nagid godleha baruch atah Adonai ha'elah kadosh El malei rachamim shochein b'meromim hamsei menucha nechona כנפי השכינה עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים לנשמות יקירנו שהלכו לעולמם בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוחו בשלום על משכן